Welcome back to TPS. The drought has to end eventually. Those are the words often said by sports fans who support long-time losing teams. But hey, a lot of the times they wind up being right. The Cubs ended their 108-year World Series drought in 2016. The Boston Red Sox and Chicago White Sox ended their championship droughts of over 80 years in 2004 and 5, respectively. The Philadelphia Eagles won the NFL championship in 1960 and had to wait until the 2017 NFL season to end their drought, winning Super Bowl 52 over the New England Patriots. Do you see our point? These droughts can only go on for so many years. They're all bound to end at some point. Now's a good time to look at the 10 longest and guess if they'll be ending anytime soon. I'm Justin Fraction, and today we present the 10 longest professional sports championship droughts. When will they end? At TPS, we post videos every single day, so don't forget to click the subscribe button to subscribe. Then click the notification bell to be notified when we post a new video. And don't forget to leave your ideas for videos down in the comments section. You never know, we might use one and give you a shout out. Number 10, Toronto Maple Leafs. Last championship, 1967. Not only have the Maple Leafs gone over a half-century without winning a Stanley Cup, but they actually haven't reached the finals since last winning it in 1967. It's been a long and painful 50-plus years for one of the most passionate and loyal fan bases in all of professional sports. Fortunately, things are on the up. The Maple Leafs are led by a trio of superstar forwards in Austin Matthews, John Tavares, and Mitch Marner. Those three alone give the Leafs plenty of hope in not winning just one, but even 2 or 3 Stanley Cups. The defense is solidified with Morgan Riley and Jake Musin, and Frederik Andersen is emerging as one of the NHL's elite goalies. It doesn't hurt to have Mike Babcock either, perhaps the greatest head coach in the post-lockout era. Toronto had some great teams in the 90s and early 2000s led by Matt Sundin and Curtis Joseph, but they haven't had a star-studded core like this since their last Stanley Cup championship. Out of all the lengthy North American championship droughts, Toronto stands the best chance of ending theirs the soonest. Expect the Stanley Cup to head north of the border sometime within the next 3 years. When will it end? 2021. Number 9, Cleveland Browns. Last championship, 1964. The Browns have perhaps been the most laughed-at team in North American sports over the past half-century. It's not strictly because they haven't won a championship, but also because the franchise has just been straight-up bad over the past 20-something years. This team has wasted all these high-end first-round picks on players who wound up being huge busts. Tim Couch, Courtney Brown, Johnny Manziel, Barkevious Mingo, and others. The Browns last won the NFL championship in 1964, then proceeded to lose the big game in 65, 68, and 69. They haven't made the playoffs since 2002, and their last postseason victory happened in 1994. The good news is that the Browns finally have a bright future in place. This team nailed the number 1 selection in 2017 and 18 when they drafted Myles Garrett and Baker Mayfield respectively. So the Browns finally have a franchise QB to build around, plus an elite pass rusher in Garrett. Cornerback Myles Garrett, star wideouts Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, and running back Nick Chubb will also play prominent roles in fixing this team. The Browns have an excellent young core, and the franchise is finally trending upwards. It also bodes well that perennial AFC heavyweights like the New England Patriots and Pittsburgh Steelers will start regressing before long. This is an excellent group of stars the Browns have assembled. They'll be a perennial playoff team now, and dare I say it, a Lombardi Trophy really isn't that far away from their sights. When will it end? Sometime between the 2021 and 2026 seasons. For the sake of being specific, we'll guess Super Bowl 57. Mark down the date of February 3rd, 2023, Clevelanders. Number 8, Los Angeles Chargers. Last championship, 1963. The San Diego Chargers played host to the Boston Patriots in the 1963 AFL Championship game, running away with an easy 51-10 victory. Imagine telling Chargers fans at that time that it would be their last championship for a minimum of 56 years. The Chargers would go on to lose the 1964 and 65 AFL championship games as well. Ever since their success in the AFL, the Chargers have been one of the saddest teams in the Super Bowl era. This team has only made the Super Bowl once, and that was back in the '94 season when they were throttled by the San Francisco 49ers. With Phillip Rivers at the helm, the Chargers have had some success here and there, but nothing's changed. They just keep on coming up short anytime they make the postseason. Los Angeles has only made the playoffs twice in the current decade, and they've won just 2 postseason games dating back to the 2009 season. Rivers is still elite, but he's now in his late 30s. On the bright side, the Chargers have plenty of young stars to build around. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are a top-notch wideout duo. Melvin Gordon is a Pro Bowl caliber running back, and the defense has so much promise with Derwin James, Melvin Ingram, and Joey Bosa. But it's hard to guess a time frame on when the Chargers will win it all, given Rivers' age. Now, he probably has about 3 years left to win a Super Bowl, but the Chargers' other top players are young and just entering their prime years. We do think the Chargers will win a Super Bowl in the 2020s, but that's assuming they find the right successor for Rivers. Time isn't on his side to win a Super Bowl. When will it end? Somewhere between 2022 and 2027. Number 7, Tennessee Titans. Last championship, 1961. The Titans franchise was originally based in Houston, where they were called the Oilers. The team had plenty of success in Houston, winning the 1960 and 61 AFL championship games. Since the AFL-NFL merger took place almost 50 years ago, the Oilers-Titans franchise has seen very little playoff success. Quarterback Warren Moon breathed new life into this franchise during the mid to late 80s and early 90s. Eventually, the late Steve McNair took over as the starter. Together, he and Jeff Fisher turned the Titans into an AFC powerhouse. This was highlighted by a trip to Super Bowl 34, where Tennessee narrowly fell to the St. Louis Rams. The Titans for the better part of the last 15 years have been the complete definition of mediocre. They've only made the postseason 3 times since the 2004 season with only 1 playoff victory. But the good news is that the Titans are a franchise on the up now. They registered 3 straight winning seasons under quarterback Marcus Mariota. Running back Derrick Henry has grown into a superstar. Corey Davis has a chance to be a Pro Bowl caliber wideout too. And the Titans have one of the NFL's best defenses, led by the likes of Kevin Byard and Jarrell Casey. We love the future of this franchise, and we can see a Super Bowl arriving in the very near future. When will it end? Somewhere between 2020 and 2025. Number 6, Texas Rangers. Last championship? Never. The Rangers franchise was originally based in Washington, where they went by the name the Senators. The team was founded in 1961 and they played in the nation's capital until the 71 season, before relocating to Texas. The Senators-Rangers franchise has never won a World Series championship, of course. There was virtually no success in Washington, they didn't even make the postseason once, and the Senators only registered 1 winning season. The franchise came close to winning it all twice in the 2010s. However, the Rangers reached the World Series in 2010, but they fell to the San Francisco Giants in 5 games. Texas reached the Fall Classic again in 2011, where they met the St. Louis Cardinals. In Game 6, the Rangers were 1 out away from winning it all twice, but they blew it both times. You know the rest. They lose in Game 7, and once again miss out on a chance to end their World Series championship drought. The core players from Texas have since left the team, including Josh Hamilton, Adrian Beltre, and Cole Hamels. There's not a lot of young talent here, and the farm system ranks in the middle of the pack. And the Houston Astros don't plan on giving up in the AL West anytime soon. Sorry, Rangers fans, but this drought could go on for a long time. When will it end? 2030 or later. Number 5, Atlanta Hawks. Last championship, 1958. Thank goodness for the 1995 Braves World Series championship team. Otherwise, the city of Atlanta would have absolutely nothing to celebrate at all. The Hawks basketball franchise has only won the NBA championship once. That was back in 1958 when the Hawks were playing in St. Louis. It's now been 6 decades since this franchise last won it all. Atlanta had some great teams here in the 21st century, making the playoffs every year from 2008 to 2017. But then LeBron James happened. The Hawks only got past the second round once in 2015. Well, it's hard to see the Hawks turning a corner anytime soon. Yes, John Collins and Trae Young are a prominent young duo to build around, and this team is in prime position to tank for many years. But this is a different era. Superstars only want to play for a super team in a big market. Who knows if Collins and Young will ever want to stay here long term. And the Hawks, being a not-so-big market, are going to have a tough time recruiting top free agents. It's just the way the NBA is now. So it's very, very hard to see when this championship drought will end. It could go on for decades or longer. When will it end? 2035 or later. Number 4, Detroit Lions. Last championship, 1957. Back in the 50s, the Lions were one of the most dominant North American sports franchises. They won the 1952, 53, and 57 NFL championship games, led by Lions icons in Bobby Lane and Jack Christensen. But ever since the glory days of the 50s, the Lions have been quite the annual disappointment, to put it mildly. For example, the Lions have 1 postseason victory since 1958, and that happened back in '91. Detroit has only made the playoffs 3 times in the 21st century. Even guys like Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson just weren't enough to help the Lions get over the hump. The Lions have been mired in mediocrity for far too long now, and they're easily the worst team in the NFC North Division. It's just next to impossible for us to see when this franchise will end its drought. It could drag on and on for decades or longer. When will it end? 2040 or later. Number 3, Sacramento Kings. Last championship, 1951. The Kings franchise hasn't won a title in almost 70 years now. The Rochester Royals defeated the New York Knicks in 7 games to win the NBA championship in '51, and it's been nothing but terribleness ever since. The franchise relocated to Cincinnati in 1957, and they played there until 1972 before relocating to Kansas City. They were in KC for a little over a decade until they relocated to Sacramento in '85, and the misery has continued to follow them wherever they go. The Kings last made the playoffs in 2006. They have some young pieces to work around in Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox. But like we said with the Atlanta Hawks, superstars just want to play in a big market and on super teams. Not sure the Kings will be able to retain their star players of the present and future. Plus, Plus, all the other teams in the West are just way better. When will it end? 2035 or much, much, much later. Number 2, Cleveland Indians. Last championship, 1948. Well, the Indians were 2 outs away from winning the World Series in 1997, but they blew it in the ninth and lost to the Florida Marlins in extras. Boy, was that Game 7 heartbreaker tough for their fans to swallow. 19 years later, the Indians got back to the World Series and led the Chicago Cubs 3-1 in the series. You know the rest. The Cubbies won 3 straight games to end their 108-year drought, meaning the Indians now have the title of the longest World Series drought. But we think this current group lost its chance. Francisco Lindor, Jose Ramirez, and Corey Kluber round out a nice core, but many key players from the 2016 AL Championship have left, and the Indians lack the financial resources to A, keep their own stars, and B, sign other top free agents. And with other few promising prospects on the way, it's going to be hard for the Indians to contend much longer. It doesn't help that their AL Central foes in the Chicago White Sox and Minnesota Twins are building up cores that should contend for many championships over the next 10 years. When will it end? 2030 or later. And number 1, Arizona Cardinals. Last championship, 1947. While people continue to poke fun at the city of Cleveland and its sports teams, let's not discount Arizona either. The Suns and Coyotes never won a championship. The Diamondbacks accomplished that feat once in 2001. And the Cardinals' last NFL championship was back in 1947, when the franchise was based in Chicago. The team relocated to St. Louis in 1960 and they played there until 1987 before relocating to Phoenix in 1988. The team was then rebranded the Arizona Cardinals in 1994, but no matter where the team has played, they've been downright horrible. The closest they've come to ending the drought, Super Bowl 43, where they narrowly fell to the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-23. They were so close, but that wasn't meant to be. But we do like where the rebuild is going now in Arizona. Patrick Peterson and Chandler Jones will anchor that defense for the long run, along with the number 1 overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, Kyler Murray. And don't discount wideout Christian Kirk or running back David Johnson. It could be a lengthy rebuild here, but the Cardinals have some of the main pieces in place. Unlike the other long championship droughts, we can see Arizona ending there sometime over the next decade. When will it end? Between 2023 and 2030. When do you think some of these lengthy championship droughts will end? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.